From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Car Night Show, inviting you to join Nolan's guest this week all the way from Germany, David Arigbabu. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another edition of the show. And I hope you've enjoyed the last few weeks of the episodes because I'm sure you will enjoy this one definitely. I'd like to welcome all my guests, but before we begin, follow on social media and like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun jazz stuff. Continue to grow the show. And as I said, we have a big episode today with a big time guest. This week, not only is our guest one of the ferocious forwards that helped propel our alma mater back into the center stage in the late 90s, is a member of the Running Rams, but he's also of royalty as he's the Count of Celle, Lower Saxony, Germany. I am honored and welcome to have David Arigbabu join the program this week. David, how are you?
Thank you. I'm really good, and thanks for having me on your show.
Well, of course, this is exciting. There's been a lot going on with our alma mater, your old alma mater and team, the last year or so, specifically the last few weeks. So this is a real treat to talk to somebody who's had a front view of that squad and helping URI stay in relevancy back then. Although Michael, this is also a big deal for me because although maybe an old teammate of yours, I don't know how when he was there, he might have been there. Michael Anderson was on the show a while
I
ago.
played with him, yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of my first guests who was not from the United States. So to have somebody who is outside of the States over in Europe, this is a big treat as well. You have a experience that's different, I think, from others, not in the sense of, you played basketball as many former college athletes do, but you're also someone who, as I said, from Germany, living in the country. So at this point, and I sort of start like this, 3 years into this whole thing with all the craziness that's happened internationally in terms of COVID, what's it like to sort of see your old sport, but life as well, not only from the basketball aspect, but from life in Germany as well, to go back to sort of natural?
Yeah, I mean it's nice, to go back to the normal life. The last 3 years were tough for everybody, I think, for everybody in the whole world, and it's real nice. Kind of, I mean, I have three little kids. I have three daughters, so they're 10, 4, and 7 years old. So, I mean, they grew up with COVID, and it's we try to make their life as normal as possible, go out. I mean, crazy things were over here. They closed, playgrounds outside, during COVID. So we had to go to the forest, in the woods, just to get the kids outside instead of, staying inside. So yeah, but now, and basketball games with no crowd, and it was a tough time, but now I'm happy that everything is back to normal.
I also like asking, this is sort of the last question of that, depression case that is the last 3 years. This time it gives everyone sort of a moment to reflect on what they've learned about themselves over the last 3 years. So what's one thing David learned about himself over the last 3 years that he didn't know prior?
I guess even more to appreciate the little things, but I guess that's what everybody always does when something doesn't run smooth anymore. As soon as you have you hurt your ankle, then you know how much you need your ankle. Or if you twist your finger, you playing ball, you sprain your finger, and you think, oh damn man, I need it feels uncomfortable. So I think the most important thing is always to appreciate the little things. And I think, for example, in Germany, we didn't have toilet paper for a while, during COVID, because it was sold out, and people, before we went to the supermarket, we had everything, everything was always there. Flour was there, tomato sauce was there, pasta was there. And then all of a sudden I went to the supermarket and I couldn't buy pasta. And I was like, damn, I can't buy pasta. What's going on here, And you were never in this situation that you couldn't buy everything you wanted. And people, I think some people also lost their calmness. They were really, I mean, I spoke to like parents in the kindergarten, and I felt the like tightness, on certain things. And I said, come on, relax. We have a roof over our head. We have enough to drink. We still have enough to eat. Maybe we can't eat everything we normally buy in the but we're doing fine. And that's what I think some people learned, just to calm down, and you don't need, a lot of things to be happy. So, and I definitely learned that, and just to to be happy with everything you have.
Yeah, well, I think it definitely made people crazy, and I'm someone who tends like to stay to themselves and stay inside. So I was doing sort of fine, and academically, it was the best semester I'd ever done. So I thought it was sort of a win-win situation myself. Besides, of course, other stuff. I sort of want to
Yeah.
start like this on another more positive note. When I think of
Mhm.
German premier top tier legendary German athletes, besides David Agribabu again, I think of Dirk Nowitzki, Steffi Graf, Boris Becker, people of that nature, Detlef Schrempf, and people
Oh
and so on
yeah.
and so forth. For you though, growing up, and although soccer I know was big over there as well, when did you realize that you had an interest in basketball, but also that you could take it to another level
Mm.
besides recreationally?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, like most German kids, I started playing soccer, when I was like 5 or 6, and I played in the club, and I still look at these old pictures, and I'm like one head taller than everybody else, and it's funny. And then I played soccer for a while, then I did track and field for a while. In school we had those competitions, and they have scouts coming and they said, "Hey, you're pretty good in track and field." I said, "Okay." Then I do track and field, and then I also played table tennis for a while. I played 2 years in the club table tennis, and then my brother started playing basketball. My brother he played with Dirk Nowitzki for 10 years in the national team, so he started playing basketball pretty late. When he was 16, 17, he started, and he was playing handball before and also soccer. And so when he started, then I said, hey, why not try it as well? And then I was, I think, 12, 13. I started, I went to a practice, and I met 2 guys there. They're my closest friends right now. I'm still good friends with them. And we kind of bonded like a group, and we had a good coach, and then it was just fun playing basketball. And so we started playing, but not as much as I'm saying like nowadays. Now kids go out and play. We didn't even have one. I think we had one outside court in my whole city, and it's Hanover. It's about 600,000 people living here. And when I was young, we had one court, and now you go outside, you find, I don't know, 50 courts.
Sure.
Because it changed a lot. But it was really fun. And then I started playing, and I was taller than the other guys. Even okay, now it's 6'7.5" or 6'8". I'm not that tall anymore, but back then I was tall. And yeah, I started playing, and then I made we have different, how you call it, different like teams. Like you have your own, like your club team, and then you have like a state selection. So I made the state selection. Um, Basically not just because of my height, but just I wasn't playing that good at the moment, but they said it's maybe saw potential, so I made the state selection. And then after a couple of years, I was doing all right there, and then I made the junior national team. And that's when it was good competition. I played against other guys like Patrick Famerling. He played for University of Washington, and other guys that played over there. Adimola Okulaja played for North Carolina. He played at the same time I was over there. He played with Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter and all those guys. And with those guys, I played on a junior national team. So, and that's when I thought, okay, basketball, it's fun. I still didn't I was think I was going to make a living or go to the States, or it wasn't like a goal. Everything my parents said is, when you do sports, whatever you do, you also have to do school. So,
Yeah.
they always had an eye on that, so that we didn't just go out and play basketball. But it also wasn't like that. It was more like, I'm not saying recreational, but
Sure.
it wasn't with the mindset to become a professional basketball player. Or
Sure.
my parents didn't drill me and say, hey, you have to go practice. It was just
Yeah.
like fun. We went out. Maybe like looking back, I could have said, okay, we could have practiced a little bit more, but hey, it was just fun. And I think
Sure.
that's how, maybe why I played so long, because it was just fun.
Well, I think, and that's something that I think is a lost thing, more necessarily probably in the States. You see a lot of kids, specializing in just one thing and focusing just on that. Whereas other kids, maybe from years ago, maybe your generation did other, like you said, you did other sports, and were well versed in that stuff. So it's something that you're not so focused on. It's not exactly everything involving in your life.
Mm-hmm.
People have also talked that I've had on here who share our alma mater together, it's the main dish of people I've had on, sort of ask them about how they dealt with the attention they got as their skill level got better, and how they dealt with
Mhm.
the attention they got themselves as their ability increased. How do you remember handling that as a high schooler before got involved with colleges looking at you?
Mm. Well, I don't know if you know, but after I finished the 11th year in Germany, I went for a high school year to the States, and I went to Mercer Island. It's up in Seattle, close to
Okay.
Seattle, Washington. And there it was pretty funny because when I went there, they kind of were mad at the high school coach because they said they recruited me. You know, in high school you couldn't recruit, and I was playing pretty good back then. There, I think I averaged like 15 or 16 points in high school, and we ended up winning the state championship. So, I mean, I got hurt before the state championship game, but that was okay. I mean, I took the team there, and that was kind of the first time that I got like attention, you know, like for playing a little bit. But I mean, for me, it was mostly weird also like at URI when when I went to class and I felt like the teachers were surprised that I raised my arm and that I
Yeah.
participated in class or that I even went to class. You know, it's like for me it was normal, you know, to be
Sure.
at every class. I think I didn't miss a class. Maybe I missed a class because we had a game or something, but I never just missed the class because I skipped it, because for me it was normal to go there and attend it and be a normal student and
Sure.
not be any different. So that's how I grew up in Germany. There's no connection between school and sports. So
Okay.
in school, you're a student like everybody else. They don't care what you do in your spare time. So there's no school team and you're the star of
Okay.
the school team. You know, teachers don't know what sport you do. So it doesn't matter. So school is school and sport is sport.
Okay.
So, you know, it's that's I think it's a big difference. So yeah, but then of course, yeah, at URI, mean, I remember when we came back from the in '98 from those games, and everybody was waiting at the airport. I mean, it was
Yeah.
crazy, you know. It was nice, but or even at the games you have 20,000 people watching. It's crazy. I mean, it was a
Sure.
nice experience. Yeah.
Well, to not only represent, to represent a small community such as Kingston, Rhode Island, I'm sure definitely was a big accomplishment for yourself. You talked about quickly before we got going here about URI being really the only place that was a school that was looking at you, and Tim O'Shea and your relationship with him that sort of helped, make you choose, okay, Rhode Island's the place I want to be. Like in that situation, not only, I mean, maybe as you said, basketball, you didn't really like the attention or it was weird to have maybe not just one school look at you, but a school like Rhode Island and Tim O'Shea to really take a interest in your ability as a player to come to the school to help the team. What was it like for you? You mentioned Seattle and going to that school for your final year. Was there any difference in your take on that whole courtship that was Tim O'Shea and URI?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I didn't know anything about college basketball when I was over here. The only thing I knew, it was funny how this is how life sometimes is. The only games they showed over here and that I saw was UCLA.
Okay.
So when UCLA with Ed O'Bannon and Toby Bailey, those were the games they showed over here when I was a little bit younger, and I saw Coach Harrick, and then later
Yeah.
Coach Harrick coming to the school, it was so weird
Yeah.
because that was like the only team I saw. I think they showed USC with Harold Miner and UCLA. And yeah, when I went to Rhode Island, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I think they recruited the guy I said before, Patrick Feymerling. He's 7'2" or something.
Okay.
He ended up going to the University of Washington, and he ended up going there because he worked out with Detlef Schrempf in Germany. So
Okay.
Detlef Schrempf brought him to his old school. So, and then they said, okay, I think they said to him, do you know another guy? And then he said my name. And then I think I sent the tapes over there and they said, okay, let's take a look. But yeah, I mean, Rhode Island was, I mean, it was like like a coincidence
Yeah.
for me going there and not knowing that those 3.5 years would be so crazy and such on a good team, on a high caliber team,
Sure.
a high caliber program. I mean, it wasn't planned; it was just luck. I mean, just being at the right place, I guess.
Well, that's another thing I want to mention to you about. I mean, you're part of one of the greatest classes in URI athletics history, specifically the men's team, with people like yourself, Katina Mobley, Tyson Wheeler, and Tony Reynolds Dean. and Preston Murphy and so on and so forth, Lamar Odom near the end of your time there. They had a little bit of success after near the end of the late 80s with their Sweet 16 run and then a few NIT appearances in the early 90s. Besides, of course, the wonderful winter weather and early spring weather that Rhode Island brings that time of year, how much of the history of the program when you were getting recruited were you aware of or told about before you became a student?
I didn't know anything. The only thing I knew that Mike Moulton. The funny thing is, Mike Moulton, he played in Hanover,
Okay.
professional. So that's the only thing I knew. I mean, I think, did I even find out later? I think I found out later that he went to URI. I mean, I didn't at the time. I didn't make the connection, but I think the 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 main reason, of course, is Al Skinner and
Sure.
Bill and Tim, that they looked behind the player. They looked for
Sure.
good people. And the thing, my dad, he still talks about it. Coach Skinner came to visit, and my dad still talks about it. Like,
Wow.
I don't know, 25 years later, and he still appreciates it, and I appreciate that Coach Skinner went to visit everybody. He went to Denmark to visit Mike. He came here to visit my house. We went to go eat, and it just shows appreciation, to the family, to the parents. It shows the parents that their kid, now being a father, it would be great for me
Sure.
if I sent my kids to the States or anywhere, and the coach comes and visits and shows, hey, I'm the person
Sure.
taking care of your kid. I mean, that's what I now, later looking at it, appreciated more and more what Coach Skinner did for all of us, for all the players. And I think that sometimes gets lost in sports. It's so much
Sure.
about just players. Coach Skinner cared about the grades. So, he said he wants everybody to graduate, because not everybody's going to turn pro. So
Sure.
that's what I really like about him, that he looked, he recruited good people. He looked at the house, he looked where they came from. And that's why we performed good on the court together, because there has to be a certain kind of chemistry. Not everybody's always best buddies and best friends, but there has to be some kind of chemistry and respect. And that's what I think the team he built, or they built,
Sure.
a team of respect and good people, and that's why we performed.
Well, and I'm sure, and this is maybe just from my perspective as someone who's from the URI area, and knowing the fact that he also had been there for many years prior to your first year at URI in the mid '90s. He'd been assistant coach with not Brennan Malone, Tom Penders for a while. Then he was an assistant head coach at URI for a while. So I'm sure that also gives a good comfortability as a new player to the area joining a squad. That year, the team makes it to the Elite Eight round of the NIT tournament with a very young, your freshman year, I'm saying, with a very young squad, which, unlike today's team, they're struggling to find their identity. How do you think not only the team's contribution, but also Al's impact and the coaching staff helped you guys reach that far into the season as a young freshman team?
Yeah, I mean, we all looked up to Coach Al. He was a straight guy, an honest guy, just a good guy. And I mean, you could like him, even when he screamed at us or made us run or something. We liked him, and I remember the best thing is for me was he was a player, so he played, he
Sure.
knows. For me, it's like, hey. I mean, not saying that all coaches needed to be players or all players are good coaches. No, but with him, he was a good player and a good coach. So, and I remember that he always still played rec ball in Keeney on the track and field part.
Sure,
He
yeah.
played with the other guys, and we saw him, and he was still competitive. So he still beat up guys out there.
Sure.
So, and he had that competitiveness, and that's what he showed us, like he would go to war with us, and you can feel that as a player when you
Sure.
when you feel your coach is so much into it, and he fights for you, and he's with you, and then you say, okay, I give everything for this coach, and that's how
Yeah.
we did it. I mean everybody would do everything for coach, and the best thing is we never ran on the track. I mean, this is so great, because Coach Skinner didn't like running on the track, so why would he make us run on the
Sure.
track? We went in the pool, we did the running in the pool. So I mean, that was the greatest thing, I think. And he, being a player, he knew what players like and what players
Sure.
don't like. Of course, sometimes you have to do stuff that you don't like,
Yeah.
but mostly you do stuff that you like. And he really knew how to talk the players' language.
Sure. That's first season. It was December of that year. You got your first taste of the in-state rivalry between URI and PC. Uh, and you talked about maybe the history that you didn't know of before you got to become a player for that team. Did Tim O'Shea, when you were staying with him, or maybe even with Al, did they ever tell you about what that rivalry was like and what it was like to play against PC, or was that just a fresh thing you experienced firsthand on the team?
Yeah, it was firsthand on the team. Of course, the other students, and of course, and on the team, we talked about it. But for me, it was not. For me, it wasn't really a big rivalry. Because I mean, I just got there. So,
Sure.
of course, you know it, and you know how important the game is for the school. But I'm not saying it was another game, just another game. No, but I think the years after that, it was more. I mean, you kind of, you more what you were into the
Sure.
school and into the spirit, and then it was more a rivalry. Back then, it was just, I think it was Austin Crochet and Ruben Garces on PC and Guard Shamgard. Yeah, that
That
was just a team. Yeah.
that although it took till your senior year for the team to win an A10 tournament, the conference tournament, the playing that year, the A10 tournament, losing that final game against Temple, I believe it was before the NIT tournament came about. What was do you remember your mindset in terms of, okay, the big dance, the NCAA tournament isn't in our grasp this year, but we still have the NIT as an option? Was there any sort of disappointment about that, or were you guys just excited to play in that playoff version?
You mean on my first? You're talking about my
Yeah,
first year?
yeah,
Oh yeah, the NIT was for us, it was a big thing,
yeah,
with the young team to play in the NIT. For us, it was not making the NCAA tournament, but for us it was good making, the NIT in our first year. So for us it was great.
Although you guys would lose in the Elite Eight of the NIT tournament, was there any sort of calmness in the sense of, okay, even if we lost, we still are returning back the majority of the core team my sophomore year?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant before, that we were such a young team, and we knew that we had I was hoping that we had some good years ahead of that after making the NIT and during the freshman year. I mean, some people never make the NIT, so it was an accomplishment, but we knew that we could do something more. I mean, and then we did.
The following year, your sophomore year, you guys start again on a hot streak. I believe it was 7-1 that I saw online, and then you guys have a loss to 18th ranked Texas, and then you guys have an away beat down on PC at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, I should say the convention center back then. From the year prior, your freshman year, to losing a game to PC, to then destroying them the next year at their home crowd. What was that like as someone who was, as we said, it wasn't accustomed to the history that URI and PC had?
Yeah, I mean, it felt great. Every time you beat a rival, it feels great, and you see it coming back to your school. You know how big the game was. I mean, that's what I said. Year after year, the game became more important.
Sure.
Also for us, because you knew how important it was for everybody. So the days and weeks before the game, you saw the in class, people talked about it. We have to beat PC, and it's not like the only game they wanted, but it was very important for them. So it was great. Yeah.
That year, you guys play, of course, Temple. John Chaney's the coach. You played them a lot that year. You guys would meet them in the A10 tournament. Compared to maybe playing them during the regular season, playing them again in the A10 tournament, what was that like in terms of variety of the difference of game, or was it more of just the same type of approach you guys would take to that team?
I mean, Temple, it's so funny that now that you talk about it, like this thing pops in my head. Like Temple, they always had this zone defense. Like it was really tough to play, and we had to be patient and pass the ball. And I think we could beat them because we were a smart team, and I think Cat or Tyson had a 3-point record. I don't know if you have the box score there. I think he had 6, 7 threes or something in that
wow.
game. And yeah, but I think I mean, we needed to be smart to beat them, and that's what we
Sure.
had. We had smart players on the team, Cat, Tyson, Preston, Tone, Josh, and Mike, all these guys. So that's why we could beat them. Yeah.
You guys, that year, if I'm not mistaken, is the year you guys play Purdue in the NCAA tournament, the first round, the 8-9 matchup. After playing in the NIT tournament twice, what was it like to then finally make the NCAA tournament, but then be in this classic 8-9 matchup that year?
Yeah, I think we should have won that game. I think it was close to the end, and
Yeah.
I think we had also the shot to win it, right?
Yeah. I think
yeah.
it was an OT. Yeah.
Yeah, it was overtime. Yeah, I remember that because we had the shot to win it, I think, and then we missed it. But it was I think that game we really should have won.
Sure.
That was a game we should have won. Everybody. Sometimes you play good or you play good and you lose and you say, okay, I played good. The other team was
Sure.
better. Okay, shake hands. Okay, good job. But that game, we should have won that game. Really,
Sure.
we were better. Just like the Stanford game where we were better. We just lost, unfortunately, but we were the better team. So that also the Purdue game we should have won. But it was, for all of us. For me, it was okay, the NCAA tournament, but for all the other guys on the team, they've been watching that probably all their high school time.
Sure.
They've been watching this, March Madness. I never watched March Madness before. I didn't even know what it was. So I didn't know how big and important it was to
Sure.
be there. Of course, I learned it when I was, my freshman year, but I guess for the rest of the team was such a much bigger thing, being there and making it, and not saying that I didn't appreciate it or anything, but just meaning for me it was not. I didn't dream about it for years
Sure.
and years and years to be in the March Madness. So, but it was great. But yeah, like I said, we should have won that game, and I think everybody was disappointed then.
Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the last time, of course, we'd make the big dance as a team. A lot happened in that offseason following. Obviously, you then become an upperclassman, you're a junior at URI, but like all good things, they come to an end. Jim Harrick, a man you talked before starting today, you saw on television, the former UCLA national champion coach, becomes the new head coach of the program, which Antonio told me about how they got him to URI. Between Al leaving and then Jim coming in and then you moving up in the team with probably a bigger role, what was it like to witness the team work during the summer and then have before the season that they would end up having?
Yeah, I was sad that Al left. That was a sad thing, and I think nobody on the team was happy that he left and that we had a new coach. But then when Coach Harrick came, I think everybody was happy. It was a big name. Big name they got to URI. It was everybody knew him. I knew him from, like I said before, when I was in Germany watching college basketball. The only team they showed was, like I said, UCLA. So I saw him, I knew him. But for me, it wasn't. For me, the good time basically ended when Coach Skinner left. For me personally, like,
Yeah.
not saying it was bad with Coach Harrick, but for me, I liked it better with Coach Skinner.
Sure.
Personally. But yeah, but and I felt bad for Coach Skinner, because he built that team.
Sure.
It's kind of, he planted everything, and I'm not saying that Coach Harrick didn't do anything, but Coach Skinner laid the foundation for
Sure.
what happened that junior year. So it's his credit. It's a lot of his credit that we went that far. He recruited the guys. He taught us. He developed everybody. He got everybody better. He got. He like I said, he laid the foundation, and But Coach Harrick also, he was a big time coach, and he brought maybe sometimes what the program needs also is this little bit of celebrity
Sure.
status, to come on the map. Of course,
Sure.
it got national attention when Coach Harrick came to us, and he got probably even more respect than Coach Skinner with the ref, with the media. It's a different story.
Sure.
We were more, how can you describe it, more not popular, but it was a different situation. But he also did a very good job with the school, of course, Coach Harrick, with players he brought in, and with the it's also probably not easy taking over a team.
Sure.
And giving them your philosophy and still be successful.
Sure.
So that's what he did.
When do you remember, before the season started, if it was at that point, that this team, besides the players that were returning, has potential to do some serious damage this year in the NCAAs?
Well, at the beginning of the season, or in the season, I didn't think that we would go that far. I think nobody would think. If anybody says now they thought that we would go that far, well, I didn't think so. But when we were in the tournament, we knew that Kansas game. I think we knew if we could win that, we could go far. Then but it's always tough when I think they were number 1 or number 2 seed. That's a real tough game that you probably lose 90% of the time. I don't know the percentages, but I think like I said before in the beginning, we were never scared of anybody. And especially Kat and Tyson. They like to take the challenge, and Tone too. Everybody says he's undersized, he's too small.
Sure.
What more energy can you get when people say you can't do it, or you're not tall enough, you're not fast enough, you're not good enough?
Sure.
That's the best motivation you can get. And like we said, the years before we got so much, with the NIT the first year, first round the second year. So we said, okay, let's go a step further, and that's what we did.
Before the Elite Eight game, you each game is getting closer. You first play Murray State, then it goes from there. And what was that like? Your matchup, your center stage, you're playing Murray State. Do you remember your viewpoint of that game compared to what would foresee after that potentially?
We were focused, and we were really confident. I never had any doubt that we wouldn't win that game. So it's not arrogant, but just believing in our skills, and very confident. I had no doubt and that we lose. So it's and that's, I think everybody on our team had that, and that's why we just performed.
Sure.
Sometimes when you're on teams, you later, looking back afterwards, you see, okay, when you look in some players' eyes, you see, they don't believe it. They don't believe it 100% that we win this game. You can see it in the eyes, and sometimes even in coaches' eyes. But there, there was everybody was confident, and we just knew we were gonna win.
Speaking of confidence, the game after that, of course, to my knowledge, is the number 2 seeded game against Kansas, which would be Paul Pierce's last game ever in college basketball before going to the pros. You talked about not having nerves, knowing that you could win against Murray State, which you guys end up routing right through them. That game against Kansas, was there any fear in terms of how their ranking was in terms of where they stood in the rankings, or was it just another example of another game, and that your game plan was, we got to bring our game to beat these guys?
Yeah, when you play the number 2 seed, you have nothing to lose. It's like, of course, you lose the game. You don't want to lose the game, but if you lose, everybody says, okay, you lost against the number 2 seed. So I'm not saying it's a good situation, but in those games, even later playing professional, you always need to hang in there. You just need to stay tight, and if you stay tight, the favorite team most of the time gets a little bit nervous, if you hang around. And then your confidence, if you're the underdog, your confidence gets bigger and bigger by the minute. You know, you
Sure.
say, hey, I can play with them. You know, I mean, before that game, of course, I don't think anybody thought we're gonna blow them out or we're just gonna win. I mean, in those games, you need to bring your best game, and
Sure.
everything needs to click. But then, you know, like I said, I remember this article where they just wrote, just the roadblock, and they wrote like road, you know, like Rhode Island,
Oh yeah.
like the roadblock. And I still remember that article, and that's the motivation I need. I mean, I played against Rafe LaFrance, you know, and you know, pushing him around, and it's fun, you know, fun playing against those guys. And I think,
Sure.
you know, everybody took the challenge. Cat and Paul Pierce, and like I said, Tone, where everybody always said, they still probably saying he's undersized, you know. So he showed him that he rebounds and block shots, and yeah, and then we just had a good day. I mean, you know, you also have to say it probably, if we play him 10 times, we wouldn't win 10 times. So, you know, we just said we had a good day and we won that day.
Sure.
Who knows what would have happened on a different day, but that doesn't matter. I mean, that day we won one game, and then maybe a best of 7 series, who knows? But
Yeah.
one game we won.
That game, to my viewpoint of it, looking at it, because I obviously wasn't alive back then for that game, but for you, and maybe this is wrong, so certainly correct me if that's the case, was that a game for you guys, a moment beating them, a moment where you sort of could just let your shoulders hang in, get a deep breath after proving to the country that you guys are a credible university team? Or is it just another situation of, okay, we won this game, we gotta do another one to prove people wrong?
No, yeah, that was it. Yeah, it kind of was like that, you know, that people took us serious, you know, and the guys, you know, I think nobody was highly recruited. No Cat, no Tyson, no
Yeah.
Tone, you know, and it's I mean, that game put everybody on the map, you know, on national TV. So everybody knew about Rhode Island, and that was a great feeling, you know. It was really great, you know, the attention we got, and when we went back to Rhode Island, I mean, it was great.
The following game is the game you guys have Elite Eight round against 10 seeded Stanford. Looking back on it, if you were to play them, let's say 10 times, looking back on it, how many times do you think it would change?
We would win 9 times for
Okay.
sure. I mean, we were the better team. It's funny. I mean, my brother later played with Arthur Lee on a team, or against him in Greece or something, and they talked about that game. I mean, it's and after that game, I always, the games I played later, I said, we play till the horn, till the buzzer. We
Yeah.
play till the last second. You know, I always told them, I said, hey, in college, I had a game up 6 points with a minute to play and we lost. They said, what? You know, it's like nobody could believe it if you tell them the story. Yeah, 1 minute, 6 points, we lost. And but that's, like I said, you know, sometimes all things click and it works,
Yeah.
and then sometimes just everything went wrong, and that's what happened in that last minute. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, how many times, you know, all the things that happen, they will never happen again. If we play, that's what I'm saying, if we play 10, they will never happen. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you trip, you fall, you hit your head against on the desk and break your arm in the same time. You know, it never happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's but hey, I mean, for Stanford, it was also something that probably never happened. So they really got lucky, and I mean, it was really sad. I mean, we went far, but I mean, the Kansas step was bigger, and then that game we should have won. I mean,
Sure.
we were so close, and later always on the teams I played, and with the young guys I played, you know, I always talk about college basketball. I said, yeah, we played Stanford in the Elite Eight. You know, you have to explain them what the Elite Eight is. I said, okay, we played. I was on a team, and we played, and we were the best 8 teams in college basketball. You know, there are over 300 Division One teams, and we were number 8. You know, because if you tell them Elite Eight, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Just
Sure.
to show them how big a game that was. So now if I talk to my daughters or something, they say, yeah, I played there in a big game, and best 8 teams in America, you know. And yeah, but that game we really should have won it. I remember if we would have won, we would have went to San Antonio in the Alamo Dome and probably played in front of 40 or 50,000 people, you know. And it was sad. It was bad, you know. Sometimes you lose and you're happy about what you accomplished, you know,
Sure.
like but that after that game, it was just sad because when you know you're better and you know you really should have won that game, then it just feels bad. But yeah.
That game, I mean, I think it was Antonio when I had him on over the summer, I believe it was. He talked about how Lamar Odom had to sit out that year because he played the next year, and that's when he left. Do you think if he was eligible that year and could play, that you guys would have won the big dance?
Yeah, I mean, what I don't know. It's difficult to say.
Yeah.
I mean, because he didn't play with Tyson and Cat there, so you will never know what
Sure.
if they would have played together, would have worked out, would have not worked out. But um, I think it's a lot of what if,
Yeah.
of course, if you took the little pieces, of course, it's more because Lamar is such a
Sure.
great player. But putting that all with their team, you never know. I would think because he fits in teams, and he would probably find his role and help us. But yeah, if we would have won it all, yeah, maybe, yeah.
That, looking back on it, 25 years later, what does it mean to you to be part of a team that helped the university get the farthest it's ever been in, postseason basketball?
It feels good, it also, I saw we played in Keeney gym, they built a new gym.
Yeah.
I haven't been back there since since graduation, but it always helps the schools a lot. It's
Sure.
maybe a different topic, but I think that the schools also, okay, maybe it's a big topic not to just say in one sentence, but of course the student athletes, they get a scholarship, but
Sure.
I think they should get even more, on
Yeah.
top of the scholarship. Uh, I mean, just let's say a flight ticket home or something,
Sure.
just not, I'm not talking about they should get money or something, but
Yeah.
let's have every student, if they're from out of state, give them a flight ticket home, 2 tickets a year or something, like stuff like that,
Yeah.
just to give something back and to not have illegal things going on,
Sure.
that went on somewhere, and so yeah, it's there should be an official way. Yeah.
Sure.
I
Recent.
I I remember I played with Lewis Bullock from Michigan. I don't know if you heard the name. He played with the Fab Five,
Okay.
and or the year after he played with Tractor Trailer still, I think, in Michigan. And yeah, he told me, I played with him in Italy. He told me one time the FBI knocked on his door, so when he was in college, and I don't think that's necessary. I think there should be a legal way for some stuff.
So the Elite Eight season is done. You move on to your final year at URI. Jim Harrick's second and final year at the university. Of course, you lose Coutinho and Cat at the school. Coutinho and Tyson. Antonio is back again with a few other pieces as well. Even though you lost those two big stars, did the goal of moving further another round change at all?
I mean, I think the team changed. That's what
Sure.
I'm saying. Like the team changed a lot when Cat and Tyson left and new guys were recruited. And I'm not saying there were bad guys on the team, but it was just different characters.
Sure.
And I think everybody didn't click as much, or we weren't as close as we were the
Sure.
years before. And that's also why I left. I left after the first semester because I wasn't happy with my playing time, of course, and I wasn't happy with the whole situation. That's why I
Sure.
said, okay, I finished my degree. I transferred some classes before, and then I said, okay, I go back home.
Sure.
I've been there 3.5 years, and yeah, and I mean the the feeling before, also with like I said, what Coach Skinner brought in, it was, I'm not saying like a family, but also with Cat and Tyson leaving. I'm not saying the leader. I'm not saying the heart left. I mean, there was still a lot of guys in the team, but they were important for the team. I think
Sure.
those guys, Josh King, and then okay, we brought in some younger guys. I think that was a big change in the
Yeah.
team.
You obviously you leave your eye, go back overseas. I'm sure every young basketball player, younger than my age, college, high school athletes, and younger than that, primary school dream of making it to the NBA, which is sort of the mecca of professional sports in some aspects. When you realized that that wasn't in your deck of cards, and playing overseas was your next option, was that easy for you to accept?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, for me, the NBA was never a dream. Of course, it was not even close. I mean, I'm realistic. So for me, it was growing up. It was never a dream playing in Italy or somewhere playing professional. So, but then in college, of course, I realized, okay, there's a possibility for me to play professional. Also, I don't know if you know, like overseas, they have different laws for foreigners. So
Okay.
when I finished college in '99, every team, I went to Italy first, every team in Italy could only have two Americans on the
Okay.
team. So me, I had a German passport, so I was regarded as the local player, and they could still have two Americans. And they
Okay.
said, oh, this guy, played college, he's pretty good, but we can bring him in as a local player. So I was kind of like an asset with my passport,
Sure.
so it was really, really good for me. And it was it was the best time of my life. I was 24. I was in Italy, in Verona. We had a nice team. It was a similar situation. Just 1 minute talking about it. We started this season, and we lost every game. We had young guys. We had a guy from Monmouth. We had guys, not big time players, and we all knew we're in Italy. We're partying. And then the season starts, and I never forget that the coach says, "Hey, we just have to try to stay in the league." And we were like, "What?"
Yeah.
Because in the European leagues, if you play bad, you move down to the second league.
Sure.
So he said, "Yeah, our goal is to stay in the league." And we're like, "Come on! I mean, I don't start the season just to stay in the league. I
Yeah.
want to make the playoffs or something." And when the coach said that, yeah, you can imagine what happened. We just started losing games.
Yeah.
And then around Christmas time, they fired the coach. They brought in Lewis Bullock from Michigan,
Okay.
and then we started winning games. We started winning. We started winning. I played with Victor Page from Georgetown. I don't know
Okay.
you. He played with Allen Iverson.
Alright.
That he was the backcourt with Allen Iverson. He was in that famous fight in the CBA. Victor Page. I played with him in Italy. So we had a really good team then when they changed the two Americans, and then we started winning games, making it to the playoffs, and it was great. It was just such a great time there in Europe. Yeah.
Whether it was playing in your home country of Germany or Belgium, Greece, Italy, what did those experiences not only teach you about the game of basketball, but also of life post basketball, not just at the moment, but post basketball life?
Yeah, because one thing I have to say, Antonio, if you're listening, Antonio Reynolds Dean, I told him back then in college I had to defend European basketball. Because when I was in college, in 95, 96, there weren't many Europeans in the NBA. But I told him, and I said, European basketball, it's serious basketball,
Yeah.
and now we see the best three players in the NBA are European. So,
Yeah.
well, but yeah, listen,
Yeah.
Tone, I told you, you know.
Uh,
So it's sorry, your question again. Say your question
no, my,
again.
my question was,
Hmm.
what did, whether it was playing in Germany, your home country, or places like Greece, Belgium,
Hmm.
Italy, what did that teach you not only about the game
Oh,
of
for the live.
basketball, but also life, not
Hmm.
just during the experiences, but then post basketball life?
Yeah, I mean, different cultures, I mean, first time I was 17, I went to the States. I was in Seattle, no cell phone. I couldn't call my parents every day. I called them maybe once a week for a minute. I was 10 months away from my friends. It's not like today where everybody's connected and you
Sure.
FaceTime here, WhatsApp there. I was gone for 10 months in a different, with living with my whole family, the nicest people I could meet, but I was gone, and it's different for a kid, and like I said, the thing what my parents taught me was always keep the balance between school or education and basketball, and that's also every time the whole years I played professional, I knew it was only for a certain amount of time,
Sure.
So when I was 30, I said, okay, that's it, I'm gonna quit, even though I could still maybe play 2 3 more years in some second division for a little bit
Sure.
of money, an apartment, a car, get a little money. But I said, okay, that's it, I stopped. I'm gonna start looking for a regular job, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. Then I just, you know, stopped basketball and yeah, and yeah, took the educational part, I mean, the degree from URI and started working. Yeah.
Sure. You know, the last few years since Dan Hurley left in 2017 to go to UConn was the last year that they were successful in terms of making the big dance. And since then, the team has struggled quite a bit in terms of keeping players via the transfer portal or coaching, whatever the case may be. From your perspective as someone who is part of success, what do you hope the team is able to bring back via those two ways, players and coaching?
Yeah, I think a program needs to be patient, you know. They need to yeah, just take it step by step, and you need to have a plan. You're not going to build a program. I mean, you're not going to change the coach, or it's not a quick thing. I mean, look how long it took Coach Skinner to be successful, you know. And you need patience. I mean, it's every time in sports. It's the most important thing. There's no short term or quick recipe for success. It's not. It's. I mean, you see it in professional teams. You can put all the money in, you won't have a team. You know, it's not always. Otherwise, the most expensive team would always win if it was that easy. You know, so I think there are more factors, and the people in charge need to understand that there's more than money. It's not, you know. I mean, talking about professional teams, and in college, it's the same. It's more than trying to recruit always the best players. It's not, you know, we showed that it's not always the best. The supposedly best players win. I mean, there's always players that, I mean, look at Steph Curry in college. There's so many guys that are overlooked for some reason, you know, but they have a bigger heart or some other aspects. You need to win, you know. And that's what I think it's important.
Well, and you look at Coutinho Mobley, overlooked extremely as a prosperous college athlete. Then, of course, he kicks ass and takes names in college, and he plays in the NBA for over 10 years. Before we end today, and again, I'm going to thank my guest David for taking the time to come on, especially where he is in the world in the time zone. I want to end on a little segment called the One Word Challenge. What this entails is my guest, David, I thought a few names of people, places, or things that have some connection to my guest, and he has to do his best to say a word or two or sentence that best comes to mind when he hears it. So, David, are you ready?
I didn't. Wait, the last thing was too quick. English is still my second language.
So what I'll do next with the remaining time we have left is a little segment called the One Word Challenge. So what it entails is I'll throw out a few names of people, places, or things that have some connection to my guest, and he has to do his best to say a word or two or sentence that comes to mind when he hears it. So, are you ready?
Okay, yeah, I'll try.
First one, Germany.
Best country in the world.
Kingston.
I had a really nice time there.
Kinney Gym.
Oh, memories. So many memories. Sweat, blood, and tears.
Al Skinner.
Oh, really greatest coach, really one of the greatest coaches I met, and a real good person.
Antonio Reynolds Dean.
Oh, competitor. Underrated, nice guy, funny guy, and hard worker, hard work ethic. And he represents ATL.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Hard work.
It's what I did.
Success.
Comes from hard work.
Yes, and certainly last but never least in this cosmic universe we all called Earth that we live on today, David Arigbabu.
I hope I'll be remembered as a nice guy, and also in the States or at URI, that they remember me as a hard worker, good person.
Well, I think if 25 years later, this known man named as Timmy O'Shea is still commenting on how good of a player you were, and we're doing this today, surely replicates the type of person you are. Well, David, I want to say thank you for taking the time to do this. I know it's late where you are, so again, thanks.
Almost 11:30. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a great show you're having, and I will share it, like it, and comment. So that a lot of former students
Yeah.
or former UI guys watch it, and it's a real good thing you do there. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate all those out there who enjoy it, because who the hell won't? Because down the line, when David gets inducted into the URI Athletics Hall of Fame, you're gonna say, "Holy crap, I should subscribe then." So subscribe, comment, share, follow, all that grand stuff. So you know when new episodes get up there on social media. Follow on Twitter, Nolan Car Night, and Instagram, the Nolan Car Night Show. In the words of Johnny Carson, the Dean of talk shows such as this, I bid you all a heartfelt good night.